Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Unholy Mole. Sorry, I was supposed to have Shannon Q on tonight, but I'm not sure if we got our times crossed. But I'm sure I'll get a hold of her, and we'll do that at a later time. So what I'm going to do is I have a book by it's a book from Young Earth Creationists from Ken Ham's thing. It's called The Genius of Ancient Man: Evolution's Nightmare. So I'm gonna take a little gander at this book and see what they have to say about the cause of the world. Now, I'm not sure if I should read it from the preface and the introduction or just jump to chapter one. I think I'm going to scan it a little bit, take a look at it, see what it has to say. So, if anybody wants to hop in with me, if anybody's watching this, you're more than welcome to join. Um, so, hey guys, I am out of my burrow. Here I am. Um, so, does anybody want to hop on and talk about Ken Ham with me, or should I say, the genius of ancient man? So I'm not all by myself. Thank you, Wonder Lady. I'm glad I'm on too. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure if we got our times crossed or what. I'm not really gonna worry too much about it. I don't think it was anything malicious. So I'll just assume that, we got our times crossed. We are in different time zones after all. And I got busy with daddy work and I missed her message, which is my fault, not hers. So like I said, I'm just gonna talk about the genius of ancient man and evolution's nightmare. So let me turn the light on so I can see what I'm doing. And if anybody wants to join me, hit me up and I'll send you a link. Let's start with a word of caution. This book seeks to provide evidence that supports the truth of God's word and confirmation to your Christian faith. However, because of the nature of the subject, the connections that can be made to the occult, we want to warn you to study the information carefully. As the Bereans, Acts 17:11, were instructed, taking everything back to the Bible. For just as Paul says in 2 Corinthians 10:5, we want to encourage you to destroy speculations and every lofty thing raised up against the knowledge of God, and be careful to take every thought captive to the obedience of Christ. So, once again, Ken Ham's his how do I want to put this? His law is the Bible once again. So that's the only way we can go. Well, you don't have to have the book, Wonder Lady. I'll read it and we can discuss it. Anybody, it doesn't really matter. If you want the link, I'll send it to you. Hold on a second. I appreciate you all being patient too, by the way. That's pretty awesome of you. I really do appreciate that. There you go, Wonder Lady. I DM'd you the link in Twitter. Thank you, Pickle. All right, chapter one, perspectives. At a time not long ago, as many people claim, approximately 6,000 years ago, in the beginning, God created. He spoke the sun, moon, and stars into existence. He formed the earth and all that lives upon it. He created the entire universe, and then he made man, fashioned from the dust of the earth. Mankind was created in the image and likeness of God and given the breath of life. Now, I don't really think that's I don't think that's true at all. You want to come on, Pickle? I'll send you a link. Do you have a Twitter? I can put the link in the chat, I guess. It'll just be a free for all. Anybody wants to hop on, get in here. or I could just read you a book. Hi, Steve. How are you? Things got a little backed up, so we're going to talk about the genius of ancient man and evolution's nightmare. So anyway, where was I? Oh, yeah. Oh, did someone hop in with me?
Yeah, hi.
All right. Hey, what's going on?
Not much. It's been so long since we've talked.
I know, so long. I missed you terribly, though. I have.
So what about
So
it?
I guess I don't know if we got our times crossed or whatnot. I mean, that time zone thing's kind of silly, and um, I assume she meant Atlantic because they don't call it Eastern time in Canada. They call it Atlantic Standard Time, and I would assume that's the same thing as Eastern Time, correct?
I guess I
I
don't
have
know.
no idea. Like I said, I don't live in Canada, so I think it might have just been just a mix up on time zones. I don't think it was anything, malicious. But Shannon doesn't seem to be that
Oh, I doubt it, because
kind of
she's
girl.
absolutely lovely, very nice, very
Yeah,
nice
she is. She
girl.
is awesome.
Time zones are evil.
Mm-hmm.
We should just
So
all go
what?
on UTC. Be done with it.
So we could just have a discussion if you like. You guys want to talk about a little bit about this book, or do you have anything else you'd
I
like to
would
talk
love
about?
to. I would love to talk about the book. And it's nice to hear you read out loud because you have skill.
You like my reading voice? I've
Yeah,
been
I
told
do.
I've been told I have a good reading voice.
You
I will
do.
listen to you two
It's
talk
very
about.
natural and not mechanical.
Well, thank you. Maybe I should take up reading. Wait, I do read a lot. All right, I'll just read a paragraph and then we can just see how they're putting their little apologist twist on everything. Because that's exactly
Sounds
what they're
good
doing.
to me.
Right, where was I? God created likeness of God and given the breath of life. That first man rebelled against God, causing the whole universe to be cursed. God himself placed the curse of death, decay, and sin on the whole of creation. Mankind continued to rebel, and God judged the earth through a catastrophic worldwide flood, preserving only 8 people. Still, men refused to obey. What men refused to obey if there was nobody fucking left? Are they talking about
That's
Cain and Abel? Do you think that's who they're talking about? That'd be the only people I could think of, unless they're talking about
I don't
after the world was repopulated.
Who knows when you have magic?
Yeah. I get a
that's
kick
a
out of
very strange claim though.
it is a strange claim. And I mean, the whole paragraph strange actually. Um, so God created the first man. That man rebelled against him, even though it was the woman that rebelled against him in the Bible. I'm not being a patriarchy guy. I'm just saying what the
No, I
Bible
get it.
says. Um, so okay, I get where they're saying Adam rebelled against him. Okay, Adam and Eve, and then I guess maybe it was Cain and Abel. Was that the next rebellion? So then it was off to Moses and the 8 people. Maybe they're talking about Ham. Maybe like when didn't Ham see his daddy drunk and naked, and he didn't do nothing about it,
Oh,
so he
oh,
got
oh.
cursed.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's what they're talking
I
about.
mean, who knows? The whole thing reads like they didn't know how babies were made.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. The Bible is so I mean, it's written in a sense. It's written just like a Greek myth or any ancient story would be. It's very vague and very outlandish. Do you know what I mean? Like if you look at the story of say Icarus and Daedalus, King Minos. I mean, it reads like that. Like, oh, there was this ancient king and blah blah blah. It's very grand, very very grand.
Well, is it translated from ancient Greek, or is that just the New Testament?
I believe that's the. Oh, you mean the actual Bible? I believe that was translated from Greek, which doesn't make sense. Why would a group of Aramaic and Hebrew speakers write a book in Greek?
I know, right?
Doesn't really make sense, does it? That'd be like me being
Well,
like, I'm going to write a book
considering-
and write it in Spanish.
I'm not terribly sure why they would do it in Greek, but I assume that Greece was the intellectual hub, you know,
It was at
so
that
write
time.
it in the most respected language of the time.
Or one of the most popular, or
The,
both.
Well,
Don, the
depends
links
on how
in
you
the
look at it.
the links in the chat if you want to hop in, Don.
Yeah, the more the merrier, because I can't stay too long.
Peter's
I
not
had
here,
today.
man.
I
Yeah,
Yeah,
got the
because
day off work
I'm
today, but
actually not
I'm
probably
not going
the
to stream
best
for like 4
person.
hours today, so I'm no way.
I'm probably not the best person for this type of thing because I
Oh,
am actually very much when it comes to writing
there's Peter.
the cadence
I'll
even
send Peter the link. I know Peter will destroy some ham with me. We'll eat some ham and eggs.
Ham destroys himself pretty well.
Yeah, he does.
That's
call him
coming from a
Jam.
pig.
Do you like do you think am I the only one that thinks this that is Kent Hovind kind of like the Al Bundy of the young Earth creationists, and he's like trying to recapture his youth? Like he was cool for a little bit back in the '80s, and then after he went to prison, he got out, and he's like, "Fuck, I have nothing." You know, he lives in a little bump up town in Alabama.
Oh dear.
Now I'm gonna picture Al Bundy on his face every time I see him.
I know he's like the Al Bundy of the young Earth creationists. I mean, that's the best way I could put it.
Do you know what?
There you go, Peter. I sent you the link.
Discussion I would really like to hear. Ken
Sure.
Ham talking to Jackson Wheat, so it could be Wheat versus Ham.
That would be funny.
That's cute.
That would
isn't
be
it?
good, except I think I love Jackson's channel and everything, but he's kind of passive. I think he would probably let Ham rail him.
He would
Just
like
run him over.
he would. You need someone confident. Like you need a Peter if you're gonna have him go up against Ham, because Peter would not take no shit. Peter would walk all over him. I didn't mean to insult Al Bundy. I'm just saying. Brian is right. That kind of is an insult to Al Bundy. Yeah.
Poor Ed O'Neill.
Well, Al Bundy's better than Ted Bundy.
That is true. Al Bundy is like the hero of my childhood, actually, because I grew up I'm 40, so I mean that Married with Children was something totally different. You know, I mean that came out when I was like what 12.
Yeah, I'm 43.
Yeah.
I remember it vividly.
Yeah, so I mean Christina Applegate was probably like my first real crush. You know, I mean she never wore. I'm going to be sexist here, but she never wore a bra on that show. I don't think at all. I think they did that on purpose as well.
I don't think I've ever noticed.
Well, I sure
Is
did.
that being sexist when you're talking about a 12-year-old starting puberty?
Oh, I guess you're right. I was just being me, wasn't I? I was just being me.
I think you were just being a normal boy, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, when you're 12, a stiff wind will, you know.
Yeah.
A stiff wind will get you really hard. So.
I've watched a lot of British
mad.
comedy, and one of my favorite
Did I join at
comedians.
an awkward time here?
No, we're talking about. I was comparing.
Yes, it's very awkward. There's one poor girl in here, and we're talking about stiff willies.
Yeah, well, okay, maybe it might be a little awkward, but I was comparing.
I have some inside information on the one girl in here. She won't have a big problem with that.
I can pretend if you like.
I saw some things in the Discord server I won't say online.
No, I was comparing.
You're allowed to say it. You're allowed to say it.
Well, I know a little something about her too, and let's just say
she gets people naked on parties.
She's sex positive.
Yeah, she gets people naked at parties.
I didn't say that.
I did say that. And I didn't say that. She said that.
I
But
managed to get everyone at the party naked at the same time.
Well, it's got to be fair, right?
Well, yeah.
I want to go to one of your parties.
Damn it, I don't drink
The
anymore.
thing is,
I'll
I
still get
wasn't
naked, I
even the
guess.
one throwing the party. I just attended the party and managed to get everyone undressed. And it's
How?
happened more than once.
I'm
I
kind of
don't
curious.
count.
You must, man. Like, are you like, ooh, 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 she's magic, and you just walk in and
No,
everybody's
just-
clothes drop off?
It's just
she
no one
twitches
is
her
allowed to be
nose.
clothed in front of me.
Samantha. I'm gonna start calling her Samantha.
I have
No, would
I have
just
to make
the
a
general announcement.
Yes.
I have to make a small comment because the stream has been going for 15 minutes. The title is "The Genius of Ancient Man: Evolution's Nightmare," and we're talking about naked parties.
I didn't mean to.
Well, okay, that
Something
has to do
happened.
with ancient
So,
Greece,
yeah,
so-
it devolved very quickly.
Yes.
Sorry.
Well,
My bad.
well, I joined Molly because I actually had a question which is in line with the topic at the moment.
Okay.
Because you've got Ham's book there, and I was curious about something. I mean, God created us in His image, so God is some terribly old guy running around naked for eons of time.
Yeah, pretty much.
And he left his wife.
I have a
So
question.
is there anything in there about that? Because that's something I would actually be curious about.
I don't see anything in there about that. What happened after God cursed all of creation and he killed everybody? Still, men refused to obey. In response to their collective rebellion at Babel, God confused man's language. We all know this, forcing the people to leave the security they had with one another as they were scattered over the earth. Now, where do you think?
You have to commend this guy because if the Bible is correct, he created Adam and Eve perfect, but they weren't perfect, so he screwed up there. Then we get to Noah, who's probably perfect because he's the only one with his family who survives, and he screws up there again. Then we get to the Tower of Babel, and he screws up again.
Yeah, no, it's people that are screwing up. They keep screwing up.
But who created them? But who
created them? Listen, what I'm going to say. It's kind of like the alcoholic who blames everything on everybody else. Well, if they would just fucking do what I want, then everything would be fine. But they fuck them, blame it on everybody else.
Yeah, and well, he was omniscient. So before he created the universe,
he knew. Yeah,
he came to the conclusion that this is how I want to do it. I want to screw up every single time and just blame someone else.
Right. That's God. That should be the slogan.
Does by any chance does Ham actually go
I don't know if this is an actual
acknowledge the
handbook.
fact that is God gender fluid or 20% gay?
I see. I've never understood that. Like if okay, let's just that first paragraph. Let's take it in a different direction. Do you think that let's think of how the Bible was actually written. Let's leave God out of the picture. We know there is no God.
Okay.
But do you think that what they're doing is they're remembering a time long ago, kind of like oral stories were told over and over and over again, and that's where do you think the Tower of Babel kind of is like a symbol, symbolism of when hunter gatherers met the first farmers, kind of that thing, so
well, isn't the whole book of Genesis oral tradition until somebody wrote it down?
Yeah, I suppose it would be. But I'm just saying, do you think it's a throwback to are they remembering a time when they were hunter-gatherers, that kind of thing? Do you think it's a throwback to that?
I actually can't comment a lot about it, but I do know that Aaron Ra has a terrific video on this called "The Evolution of Genesis," where he he studied where everything in Genesis came from. So it all comes from earlier religions, and it's just shaped into a way that the Jews would have their own religion, and pretty much Christianity did the same. They adopted pagan rituals and stuff
Yeah.
just to get more people on board. I mean, Christmas is a great example,
Yeah, and
which is
if I remember right, didn't weren't weren't a couple of like I guess the Pharisees, the Jewish priests or the rabbis, weren't they like taken prisoner by like Babylonians or Assyrians or something for a couple of years, and that's where they got their idea for a monotheistic God?
I think the first one who came up with a monotheistic God was and I keep always
Zoroastrians?
Wasn't it
no
Egypt?
it was in Egypt. I keep forgetting his name. It was Tutankhamun's dad.
Akhenaten.
Akhenaten.
Akhenaten. He's
Yeah,
the one
that
that
guy.
changed it from Amen to Akhenaten.
Yes,
That guy.
Yeah, I think you're right.
and that's where we get our amen from, because they used to end their prayers with amen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amen.
And remember too that it's not so much a monotheistic religion at the very beginning, because there was many gods believed. It was just that Yahweh wanted to be the only one people.
Well, yeah, Yahweh
believe
even
in.
admits to not being the only God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, why would he? Why else would he say not to put any other gods before me? If there are other gods to put before him.
The Elohim were a pantheon of gods. That's what we already know.
What pantheon were they from? Do you know? Was it like Babylonian or Assyrian or something?
Or Roman?
No, I think there were the first Hebrew pantheon of gods. So
Really?
there was El, there was Yahweh. Yahweh had a wife, Asherah, who was a god.
Yeah.
Was a goddess
Is
of
she the
fertility.
one that divorced him, so he became an enraged alcoholic?
Can I be a jerk?
What's that?
I just put a link in the chat. If you could take a look at that.
Sure. You want us all to look at it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can tell you why the Christian holidays are so pagan in origin, because I forget the name of the Caesar, but whoever it was that wanted to change Rome to Christianity, the easiest way to do it is to take all the pagan holidays and give them a new name.
That was Constantine.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was Constantine as well. Yeah.
I can't believe I forgot that.
Yeah. Was it? That was right around the count. That was the 3rd century AD or Common Era, I guess you would say.
Century. I don't remember.
Well, the Nicene Council was what, 312, 313?
So
yeah, Council of Nicaea, somewhere around there. So early 4th century.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what Constantine supposedly saw a sign of a cross in the sky and decided like that he wanted to. I think it was just it was more of how would you put it? More of a political ploy. He was trying to get more people on his side. So voila, I'm gonna pick the Christian God, the God who's gonna win for me.
Rome in less than 2 centuries, it went away.
Right. Oh my. So now I guess I'll read a little bit more. He goes on to say it's a simple story, ancient history, in several short sentences. Yet it contains the foundational truths that set human history on its present course and will continue to influence the future to its final conclusion. If man was made in God's image, then he was created intelligent. If intelligent, then there should be evidence of this intelligence. If man gathered at Babel and God confused man's language as a tool to scatter mankind over the earth, then commonalities and a connectedness will be found in all areas of the planet. These commonalities will be displayed in religion, construction, and purpose. Aspects of Genesis 1:11, including those at Babel, will be found all over the world, towers, solstice alignments, sun worship, stargazes, sacrifice, and human-centered empire building. So, what do you like how they're twisting history to make it sound like it was God all along? That's why. What commonalities are there? Are you trying to tell me that the Aztecs were the same as the early Christians? Were the early Christians ripping the heart out of men and holding it up to the sun god? Is that how they were common?
They just focus on the commonalities, and the differences they leave aside.
Oh yeah,
What?
of course.
Well, yeah,
What-
like
what-
make vague statements like a lot of these cultures have flood myths, yeah, but they also have fire
Yeah.
myths and a whole bunch of other myths, and they never mention those.
Right.
And
Anything
flood
that's
stories
scary.
are never the same.
Right.
The most fun part about the flood myths is that, of course, there are flood myths all over the world, but they're also in different times. And
Yes.
the funniest part is that there's no flood myth in Egypt. Not a single one.
There isn't.
No.
Maybe because the Nile flooded every year, so they didn't think nothing of it.
And even if there was, then take into consideration that Egypt had a very flourishing culture, which was devastated by the flood, and then Noah's children went back, repopulated the area with the exact same culture that God destroyed.
Well,
So-
see, Egypt, after God destroyed it in the flood, the cats clearly wanted to keep things going the way they were. And so they reinstituted everything.
God works in mysterious ways.
What is that? What was that? Shit. Douglas Adams book, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Maybe cats are really the ones that are the ones ruling the earth. Maybe we just didn't know it.
Oh, they do. They do.
That was mice ruling the world, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Maybe it was cats, though. Maybe Douglas
Yeah.
Adams had it just a little bit wrong.
Now, I can see cats being gods because, like, the God of the Bible's an asshole, and cats are assholes.
Yeah,
Oh,
I get it.
Cats are
Hey.
assholes, and they all think.
I'm
they're
sorry, Wonder Lady.
No, I love cats, but they are assholes. Let's face it.
I have
mean-
5 cats. They're assholes.
They are assholes. Yeah, they are. But they're like, but they love. They still love in their own way. I don't think.
Oh, they
that
do. They're great. And
I don't
they
think
know
that-
I'm their slave. They know that.
It's okay. I frequently do call my cat an asshole. So.
I don't think cats. Cats are aloof, but they do love their human. I guess I don't want to call them masters, but their owners. They love them.
No, we're their slaves.
She's actually
Pretty
my
much.
owner.
Yeah.
Cats are the boss of the house, and if you want to have a peaceful relationship with your cat, you don't fight your
I
cat.
never realized I never gave Casey a wrench. Hi, Casey. Here you go, buddy.
Hey, Casey. Well, I'm gonna duck out, guys. You guys.
Okay.
Well, can I ask you a question first, Stephen?
Yeah.
Do you think maybe it was the giants that made all this stuff up?
Oh God, no.
The Nephilim.
No.
Oh,
Don't do
dear.
this. You know what? My brain is still melted from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You may, Pickle.
if you go
All
back
right,
in
guys. You have a
history,
good night.
You too.
Have a good
Take
night.
it easy.
if
Good
you go
night,
back
Steven.
in history and you strip away your modern conveniences from your mind and things like that, several things were always more important than others, and one was death,
Yeah,
birth,
makes sense.
weather, and nighttime, because nighttime is dusk and dawn are the most dangerous times because that's usually when predators hunt, and that's true of sharks, and that's true of
Yeah, any carnivore, you're right. That is their most active time, isn't it?
yeah, it really is. So if you're vulnerable, and water, there were times where the water wouldn't be good. There are all
Mhm.
different ways to contaminate water. Say maybe there was a corpse that fell into the water or something like that. But around these little stressors, of course, you're going to get people making things up
Hmm.
and
They're
applying
trying to
magic.
explain the world around them. They're trying to explain what's going on around them. That
Yeah,
makes
it's
total
just the
sense.
God of the Gaps back then was much bigger than it is now.
Yeah,
Well,
the gaps were much bigger. Yeah,
yeah,
they're,
conspiracy theorists of 5,000 years ago.
Right. Well, even further than that, because if you go back to cave drawings and stuff like that, you see a lot of you see a lot of pregnant Mother Earth type of figures and
Yeah.
genitalia and
yeah, the things that were important to them.
humans. There's one where I remember
And
it's like a woman and a bull, and I think it's funny that that's a cave drawing, and it's also part of Greek mythology. So oral to traditions must have done something.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's got to be a nugget of truth somewhere. I'm not saying that God's real. I'm just saying that all religions have a nugget of truth that maybe tell about their mythology of their their customs and their history.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and like people do remember. I'm sure people do remember. Well, back then we don't now, but back then people did remember. I mean, their ancestors, and it went back to animism. I mean, because like they were, like you said, they were trying to explain the world around them, right? So
Exactly.
they placed, rocks had power and trees had spirits in them, in the sky, everything was. And think about how dangerous life was back then. I mean, you
well,
could literally fucking die just going down to the creek to get a drink of water.
I want to touch on something with this though, because Wonder Lady, you said if you think of what they're, take away technology and everything, and look at how it was then, people can't do that nowadays, and it's one of my pet peeves is they can't put themselves in other people's shoes. And it's like, well, I live here in this city, and I mean, if things are hard, I could just go to the food bank and whatever, right? Well, there's many places where people can't do that, and um, you know, things could be hard enough that they become homeless and begging for their next meal. But people can't even put themselves in their own shoes or in someone's shoes now.
No.
So for people to read the Bible and try to imagine the Bible in a different scenario, like a scenario that you can't find on Earth now, um, it's difficult for them.
Right. Vash in the chat was talking about. He said, "Well, if you want to say that two Sumerian gods, Enki and Enlil, can get the letters representing them in Hebrew becomes Yahweh." I've always found that curious, and I mean, if we do actually see a melting of all the ancient Middle Eastern religions melted into one. I think Christianity is just the one that survived, and Judaism. But I think they're all kind of a melting pot of all the. I mean, they borrowed from this culture and that culture, and I mean, people went and had warfare. They took slaves. Then people came in, so their customs were learned. So, do you think it
Yeah.
was just a amalgam of everybody's religion
Well,
built to?
if you look at a timeline of religions of that area,
Sorry.
um, you look at it and it's like different things were written at different times, and they kind of overlap each other, and it just it's like an evolution of religion is what it looks like.
Yeah, yeah. White straight says now was saying all three are Abrahamic. I didn't mean Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. I meant like them are all an amalgamation of further back religions like Zoroastrianism and whatever, like the Sumerians worshipped and the Babylonians worshipped, or all that crap. I mean, because they were all, I mean, right in the Levant area. You know, they were in the cradle of civilization, so to speak.
And like even in the Bible, you find references to other religions, so it's that they happened then.
Yeah, and how did I mean? Like, I don't understand how like Christians just gloss over that shit now.
Yeah,
like back then they realized that there's other people in the world that have other customs than us. But now people are like, oh well, no, that was never right all along. I mean, they just gloss over that shit, straight over it.
And if you look at the story of Baal, I mean, that was my God's stronger than your God.
Yeah, pretty much. It was a pissing contest, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So okay, how do we? What do you think? What do you think about miracles? Do you think miracles were just charlatans that knew how to create illusions? Were they like first century Chris angels?
I think so, because I read recently an article, and I can't find it again. So if anyone can link me to it, please do. The place where Jesus supposedly walked on water seemed to be a lake, a very shallow lake. So there could be.
Even if it wasn't a shallow lake, I mean, like, you've heard of have you heard of like how some thieves would put rocks or whatever under like a river surface or a lake surface
so that they could
quick step across, and the other people couldn't see the rocks or didn't know where the rocks were positioned?
Yeah.
I mean, dumb things like that could be romanticized.
And people were a lot more gullible in those days. So let's say they say Jesus healed people. Well, let's say someone just got better and had Jesus lay hands on him. People nowadays still tend to pick out the good things and attribute those to God, and the bad things they don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
cognitive bias.
Yeah, when someone when cancer goes into remission, even when they have had medication or treatment or whatever, people tend to thank God because the cancer went away. Yeah, the cancer went away, but it wasn't God. It was modern medicine that did it.
You would be surprised what people have assumed is something else or caused by something else.
Yeah, I really do think that miracles were nothing more than like Chris angels of the day. They were like court magicians, and like Peter said, they were more gullible back then. I'm not saying they were stupid, but they were superstitious and they didn't understand shit. I mean, think about how we react to magic today. I mean, it's still amazing. Like, holy shit, how did they do that? We know a little bit more now, but we're still amazed.
If you put yourself in an ancient person's mind, if someone is performing magic, are you really going to stare at it like a modern person? Or are you going to be like, oh, and blink and be fearful, and, there would be that rush of, oh, there must be a God here.
He said he's spat and blame me. It is gross.
I have to call out Jen with one N made the best remark ever. How did Jesus ever heal people with his dirty ass hands? Because Jesus said not to wash your hands.
Really? Where was that? I don't remember that. I'm just curious. Where was that at?
He was at like some sort of
I don't remember the verse, but Jesus said it wasn't necessary to wash your hands because sickness came from within and not from something that you take in. So it couldn't come from food or anything. It came from demons within. So washing your hands was unnecessary.
That myth that bad thoughts or dirty thoughts or whatever, like that corruption from within, how that permeated humanity, and like someone would come down with a disease and it would be because of sin.
Yeah.
That ruined a lot.
Well, I mean,
But
think
that,
about
but
for
that
how
was their
long.
own. That was
Right.
their only explanation. That was
Yeah.
their only explanation. They didn't know about viruses. They didn't know about, but that diseases could be,
Transmitted by touch and breath and
yeah,
stuff like
Well, you
that.
have to give the ancient Jews some credit for trying to recognize spoiled food and food poisoning, because that's the only way to explain eating kosher.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, they weren't, like I said, they weren't. I mean, ancient people weren't dummies. I mean,
No,
they,
they
they didn't
weren't.
have the understanding that we have, but you're right, they weren't dummies at all. And I think that's probably where a lot of the diet, I guess the diets came from, was the way they had to eat as to survive. Because certain foods spoiled faster, like non-leavened bread. That lasts. It's like hardtack, right? It lasts for a long time. Like it's the same shit like soldiers carried in their like rations in like Civil War. Isn't it similar to that? Like a hard biscuit.
I
yeah,
guess so.
Yeah. So that
yeah,
makes total sense.
More.
and there's evidence enough they weren't stupid. Just look at the Egyptians. I mean, they had surgery already. They performed surgery, and they even performed brain surgery, as
Yeah, they
far
were
as I
doing
know.
trepanning, weren't they?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I got to jump in.
Right.
Sorry, Peter. I got to jump in because I've got an interview starting in 10 minutes. So
Oh
I got to
yeah.
get ready.
Who are you
Oh,
interviewing?
sweetheart.
Edgy Atheist.
Oh, well, shit, man. Maybe we should wrap up and go over and watch that. This was just an impromptu anyway. We can stream for a few more minutes, though, and just jump in after you get started.
Sounds good.
Okay.
yeah,
Well, if you do want to join in or watch, that's the
I'll
link.
probably watch. I'll probably watch just a short while. It's coming up to 5 a.m. here, so
Yeah.
I'll probably be off to
You are
bed.
a super trooper.
You're right, Jen. Egyptian women did use crocodile shit as a contraceptive. Can you imagine how? Oh, I don't even want to think about that. That is fucking disgusting. That is fucking disgusting.
But I do think they did treat wounds with honey, which is both
Yeah,
bacterial and antifungal. I mean,
yeah,
not to the point where we have made antibacterials and
right. But
antifungals.
it's the best they could do. I mean, with what they had, and they knew about poppies. I mean, so they had like, I guess, ancient heroin. I don't know how they prepared it. They probably made it into like a tea or a soup, I assume, like the juice from the poppies. I wouldn't have no clue, but that seems like it would make sense, right?
I have no idea how it's made.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how heroin's made, but I do know that. I mean, like that. I know how to use it, but I don't. I was a heroin addict for a long time, but I do know that the juice from the poppies is what is like the active ingredient in said painkillers.
I thought poppy seeds also had trace amounts.
They do have trace amounts, but that's the seeds. What the actual drug comes from the juice within. Like there's like a milk almost milky substance inside.
Because like 10 years ago, I think I remember reading an article where someone was drinking poppy seed tea,
Mm-hmm. And they
and
formed a drug test.
they went overboard and they died.
Holy shit! I suppose that there probably is trace amounts of opiates in certain kinds of poppy seeds, depending on where you get them from. I mean, the ones we get here are commercialized and cleaned very well, so they probably get a lot of that out, but they'll still make you fail a drug test. Like if you eat too many poppy seeds before you go take a drug test, you will fail.
Oh yeah, they used to warn us not to eat poppy seed rolls before going to a job, drug test, and things like that. Like you had to tell them what you had for breakfast that morning.
That is weird.
It is, because it's like, wait, I'm eating a controlled substance with for breakfast. Okay.
Heck yeah. I put cocaine on my cereal. I love cocaine. You guys ever seen Metalocalypse?
No.
It's an Adult Swim cartoon on the Cartoon Network, and it's about a death metal band. And they have like this rock and roll clown that's addicted to cocaine that follows them around. It's kind of a strange little deal. It's pretty funny, actually.
That is
No,
pretty funny.
I have to say I haven't watched television for a couple of years now.
Neither have I.
The only exception being my addiction to racing. So that's just a
To
couple of
racing?
times a year.
What kind of racing?
Yeah. Formula One.
Oh, okay. Them are the indie looking cars, right?
Yeah. Only difference being we have more corners and in different directions.
Oh.
There's even a track that's an actual figure eight, so they drive over each other. That's Japan, and of course the best race ever in Monaco, where they just drive around the streets of Monaco at 300 kilometers an hour.
What would that be in miles per hour? Do you think like 180? I think it's like 2.5 kilometers to 1 mile. Maybe is that sound about right?
I'm checking it for you now.
I'm pretty sure that's
Google.
Right.
Google can do it. They have a top speed. I think. Am I still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah,
okay.
We're listening.
They have a top speed of about 350, 360 kilometers an hour, I think.
That seems fucking really fast. So, I wonder how much that is in miles. I'm gonna have to look it up.
That's 220 miles an hour top speed.
That's extremely fast.
What they're doing
in
the streets. What they're doing in the streets of Monaco is 190, about that. So, I'm hooked to that. That's my only sin.
I don't understand the allure of NASCAR. I mean, like people. I mean, like the wrecks are cool and shit, and the cars they're pretty neat. But I mean, to sit and watch a car drive around in circles for fucking 3 hours, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is fucking, this is getting old really quick. I mean, I have the attention span of a gnat, so I can now sit and watch a car drive around in fucking circles for 3 hours, and they go like 70 miles. Like they go around the track like fucking 400 times or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
I know lots of people who love it.
Yeah. I do too, but I just don't get it.
But the fun fact is, NASCAR came from the old moonshine runners.
Yep, that's exactly where it came from.
And what they did was drive around on mountains, on small roads, winding roads that go through the mountains. So how did they end up driving around in a circle? So why not more corners? Why not make a track interesting?
I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea. Because you're right, they did. They drove up and down mountain roads, and I mean, you obviously you're from Holland, so you've never been to Virginia, but it's pretty well, I guess mountainous. That's the word to look for. It's mountainous there. I mean, there's hills and hairpin turns and all kinds of shit there.
Yeah. Well, I have to say we don't have a single mountain. I think the highest point in Holland wouldn't even qualify as a hill in the United States.
Oh yeah, Holland's like below sea level, isn't it? It isn't. That's why Holland has all the dikes, right? And they have like
half of it. Half of it is below sea level. Half of it is man-made land.
Really?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Like, what did they just? Was it like marsh, and they just kept filling it in until it became level ground?
No. They made the dikes and then pumped out the water.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
So, yeah. And so Amsterdam, for instance, is built on stilts because it would be sinking otherwise.
Does Amsterdam mean anything, or is it just a name? I mean, does it have a ancient like? Does it? I mean, does the name mean anything?
It actually is a name. There's a river called the Amstel, and there was a dam in the Amstel, which is
Right where Amsterdam is now.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that makes sense.
It was in Dutch Amsteldamme, which then later bastardized to Amsterdam. But it pretty much just means a dam in the Amstel.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
I was just curious about that. I never knew.
Same thing for Rotterdam, which is the second largest city in Holland.
Oh, cool.
Which is a dam in the River Rotter.
Wonder Lady Godless Iowan wanted me to tell you that he shouted you out in his latest video.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, he really is.
And Molly, just so you know, there's a fairly religious village close to me, which is called Rectum. I'm not going to find out how they came up with that name.
How's it spelled?
Rectum.
Oh, rectum, Jesus! I didn't know
that. And in Dutch, it's spelled the same way as in English, and it means the same thing. So, yeah, that's not. I will have my picture taken there. I'm going down there.
There's some really funny town names in the United States, like Intercourse, Pennsylvania. What are some other ones? There's like a Bone Lick, I think Bone Lick, Kentucky, or Bone Lick, Tennessee, something like that. Yeah. And it's right next to like something called Beavers. So there's a bone and a beaver right next to each other.
Well, we're Dutch. We have Sex Bierum.
Nadine Kellen says she lives near a place called Dildo. Ah, that's funny. That's hilarious. That'd be funny if Rectum and Dildo Rectum damn near killed him. What's that?
How much time do we have before
I don't know. I mean, like
another freaking atheist.
I think he's probably getting started now. So I mean, if we wanted to if we wrap this up, we can go over and watch his show. This was just an impromptu because, like I said, I think me and Shannon had a time zone conflict. Maybe is the best way to put it. I just think we got confused.
I know I'm not any good at figuring out time zones. I'd be a very bad time lord.
You'd be a horrible time lord.
Molly, can I do a quick shout out?
Sure, anytime, man.
Because I see she's in the side chat. I want to do a shout out to Nadine Callan because somehow I inspired her to redo her outro, and she just posted it, the evolution of her outro, so you can see what she had first and her second try, and she came up with a pretty awesome outro. So I want to do a shout out because I was mentioned in the description, so I'm extremely flattered.
Oh, that's fine. So I guess this was just an impromptu stream. I'm sure I need to find someone to interview with. I know I'm doing another freaking atheist Thursday, so I actually probably want to do you sometime, Peter. When's the best time of day to do it? Early afternoon here be okay for you? Because you're up pretty late at night, right? I mean, like if we did it like 4 o'clock in the afternoon my time, would it be like midnight your time? Are you usually up?
I'm usually available between 2 and 6 Central, anyway. So I'm as you see now, I'm awake a lot later than that.
Yeah.
But Yeah, between 2 and 6 Central is pretty much my best time.
Okay,
But
that'd be perfect for me actually.
if you want to have me
great time.
come on, I can accommodate.
Okay,
And
cool.
you're welcome.
Oh, thank you, Nadine. She sent a spreadsheet for time zone because I think it's because Shannon lives in Canada, so like she told me, I assumed it was like they call it ATS, Atlantic Time Zone or whatever, right? And I assumed it was Eastern, but she may live even farther east than that because I forgot Canada does go farther east than America does. You know, it's a little bit up there, so it might be a 2 hour difference instead of a 1 hour difference, like I assumed. So I think it was just like I said, a time zone conflict. Oh, is that your first French, Nacha? Well, you're welcome, buddy. Anybody I like gets a wrench in my room. Unless I didn't notice you, I apologize. I'll give you one. But so I guess we can wrap up. So let's go check out our youngest new atheist. Welcome them to the fold. Yep, it's just started right now. So let's go welcome our newest atheist to the fold. What do you guys say?
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you guys all for coming.
Wait a minute. I'll post.
No problem.
I'll post a link in the chat if people want to go there because Don left us the link in the side chat here.
Actually, I encourage you all to go over. He's interviewing what's her name again? Oh, Edgy Atheist.
Edgy.
Yeah, she's like our youngest the newest member to our fold. Let's go and welcome her.
We really should support them. Yeah.
Show her some atheist love because atheists sure seem to have a lot more of it than Christians do, don't they?
I think so.
For us being such immoral people, we sure do love people a lot.
I think so.
We're pretty. I think we're pretty moral. All right, everybody. So we're gonna.
All right. Thank you for
shut
having
off
us.
for the night. Oh, no problem. You guys are always welcome.
Thanks for now, Molly. Okay. Bye.